We here at Thick Manic believe in bold takes. We are not meek. We do not choose the easy path when making predictions about football. We go with dynamic, shocking, oftentimes inconceivable to the normal man levels of opinions. They lock people up for saying the stuff we do about football. Today, we are going to give you a bold take about each team in the NFC and what their season is going to look like next year. Starting things off in the division everybody loves to hate, the NFC East, with America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And my prediction for them, this is Dak Prescott's final year in town. The extension's not going to work out, Jerry Boy's not going to be able to get it done, and he is going to pack his bags and test the free agent waters and get a contract of at least $55, maybe closer to $60 million from somebody else. And when he goes, either Micah or CD will soon be following.
It is an unfortunate day every time we agree on something.
God damn it, predict something else.
It is my exact prediction for what is going to happen with the Cowboys. It's one of the biggest talking points this season. When the Eagles, 49ers, when they all get better. The Lions have gotten better from what they were last season. The NFC West, I think that entire division is going to be better. And then you have the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. In the NFC North, it's probably going to be the best division in football. And then you have the Cowboys, who are pretty much the same team that they were last season. Sure, Dak's going to be good. He's probably going to have a solid statistical year. He still has CeeDee Lamb to throw to. He has Jake Ferguson to get the ball to. He has the ghost of Brandon Cooks. They're going to be a solid team in a division that they only really have to compete with the Eagles. So from that standpoint, he'll probably have a good statistical year, but he's going to warrant $60 million based on the contract that Jared Goff just got. And the Cowboys, they haven't paid all of their stars yet. They're still going to have to pay CeeDee Lamb. He could demand upwards of $32 million a year now that A.J. Brown has gotten that type of money. And they still have to pay Micah Parsons if they're going to pay podcasting Micah, which if Nick Bosa
Hey, hold on. We do not dislike podcasters on Thick Man Inc. here. Watch yourself.
And if Nick Bosa is making $34 million a year, I guarantee Micah Parsons is going to ask for upwards of that. So if they were to sign all three of those players, we're looking at $130 million of average annual money paid three guys, and I don't think they're going to make that happen, and I think they're going to look in a different direction. The front office isn't going anywhere, and they're not going to make any other changes. Maybe Mike McCarthy's out the door, but I think Dak is also part of that.
Yeah, that is too mild-mannered of a prediction. All three of those guys he just named are going to leave. It may not be next season, but they're going to be gone within 3 years. That's just how this is going to go.
Full-scale rebuild.
Speaking of people on the way out, this will be Brian Daboll's final season in New York. I just don't see it working out. They have had terrible seasons in the Daboll era, namely a terrible season. He got Daniel Jones extended, got him paid. We saw the results of that last year. They're going to have another stinker of a year with old Tommy Palms or Daniel Dimes throwing duds. I just don't think the Giants ownership, notoriously fickle, notoriously impatient, is going to stick around for another year of Brian Daboll. They're going to think to themselves, oh, we've got these early draft picks on our offensive line he's failed to develop. We've got Malik Nabers. Surely we'll be able to have a powerful offense this year. And when that doesn't happen because of quarterback inefficiencies, they're going to kick Daboll out the door. Will he land on his feet somewhere else? I'm certain he's going to get a coordinator job, but he might not be a head coach for another few years. This is his last year in the Big Apple.
I disagree, and I don't think anyone thinks, Giants fans included, the Giants are going to be some world beaters next season or finish any better than third in the NFC East. I don't really think they're going to be a playoff team, but with that being said, I think they certainly are going to be better than last season, and I think they're going to have some games where they surprise some people, and it's going to be because of Malik Nabers. He's going to go for 80, 90 catches. He's going to have 1,300, 1,400 yards, 10 receiving touchdowns. I know Isaiah.
Second hot take, Malik Nabers is going for 600 yards next season at best.
You always cut me off, and now I let you say all that stuff about my favorite team negative. Now let me respond, please.
600 yards.
It has been 6 seasons since 2015 when the Giants have had a receiver have any type of significant production. Each of the last 5 years, 4 times their leading receiver has been Darius Slayton. And I have said positive things about Darius Slayton in the past. I'm a big fan of his, but when he's your leading receiver 4 out of 5 years in a row, you got a problem because At best, he's a very high-level wide receiver 3. He's not the number one option in any elite offense, and the other one of those 5 seasons, it was Kenny Golladay. So when you bring in someone who is an elite talent at the wide receiver position, can win on multiple levels, even if it is Daniel Jones who is throwing him the ball, we're going to get production that we haven't seen in the last 5 years with him being a part of things. And I know, like, oh, they lost Saquon Barkley, but I think an offense that has an elite receiving threat with more of a backfield by committee type thing, and they have some young pieces that aren't exactly proven around Nabers, that's going to lead to an offense that is going to be in the top 15 in the NFL next season.
What a woeful take you just had there. First off, you realize, oh, well, they're going to be third in the division, they're not going to make the playoffs. With how good their defensive front 7 is and having a top 15 offense, that is a playoff team. So if you're going to go all the way. Second off, Malik Nabers is peaking out in the 700-yard range. He was wide receiver 3. And with Daniel Jones, he's going to look like wide receiver 8 out of this rookie class. What are we doing here, man? Come on. We said hot takes, not fan fiction level takes.
It's a bold take that is going... Oh, and by the way, Malik Nabers is going to win Rookie of the Year.
Oh, he's going to win Rookie of the Year, defensive or offensive?
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Because he's going to have to make a lot of tackles with those Daniel Jones interceptions. Terrible stuff right there. On to the Eagles. My bold prediction is they are going to be more efficient running the tush push this year with Cam Jurgens at center than they were last year with Jason Kelce. And I got a lot of respect for Kelce, Hall of Fame center, but he'd been getting old, less powerful. He'd always been undersized. Now you've got big, strong, strapping Cam Jurgens in there, the guy you drafted to replace Kelce. You've got a healthy Jalen Hurts. You're going to use the tush push more efficiently and less often, and when you use it, it is going to be more successful. We saw multiple teams, most notably the Buccaneers, stop the tush push last year. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think the tush push will go unopposed and unstopped in 2024.
I think on the Eagles, Saquon Barkley is going to come close to breaking the rushing record. You take a look at the Eagles running backs in most recent memory. Miles Sanders, the Eagles offensive line tricked the Panthers into giving him a big contract. When he was with the Eagles, he was averaging close to 5 yards a carry season in and season out. Went to the Panthers last year, 3.3 yards a carry, looked like a terrible running back.
I'm willing to blame the Panthers offensive line for that one.
And Saquon Barkley, he's played behind a bad offensive line the entirety of his career. His efficiency has never really been through the roof outside of his rookie season. So now, playing an offense that has more weapons than he's ever played with alongside of him, outside maybe the one or two seasons he played with Odell, an offensive line that's better than any offensive line he's ever played behind, a quarterback that is more physically gifted and more talented than any quarterback he's ever played with, we are going to see a Christian McCaffrey-like effect on the Eagles offense from Saquon Barkley, and I think he's going to have by far the best year of his career.
I mean, is that really that hot of a take?
Everything I say, you're like, not hot enough,
close to
too
breaking
hot.
the rushing record, I guess, is kind of hot, but having the best year of his career behind the Eagles offensive line, yeah, the only way that doesn't happen is if he gets hurt. He's going to have a resurgence in Philadelphia. Finally, the Washington Commanders. This one's a little bit hypothetical. If their offensive line moves pan out in the slightest this offseason from what they've done for agency in the draft, that is going to be at worst a top 10 and at best a top 5 offense. They've got the talent, which was overlooked last season because of the Sam Howell effect. With Jayden Daniels, with a competent offensive coordinator, I would be shocked if they did not light the league up, assuming the moves they made to protect Jayden Daniels were effective. We'll have to wait and see if they were, but if they can give him 2.5, 3 seconds in the pocket, he is going to cook.
He's of course going to draw comparisons to RG3 because same organization, similar type of style of quarterback as far as guys who can run the ball at a high level and pass the ball at a high level. But the only difference in this situation with Jayden Daniels on the Commanders versus RG3's tenure in Washington is that his coaches actually want him there. So when you take that into account, you take into account that they have high-level wide receivers. They have solid, I'm not a big fan of their backfield, but they have weapons around him. I think he's going to have a year, and Isaiah immediately, when these words come out of my mouth, he's going to roll his eyes to the back of his head, but please give me some time to finish this take. I think he's going to have a year reminiscent of Daniel Jones' rookie season, where he has a whole lot of production. When people hear that, they're going to say, Daniel Jones is horrible. During his rookie season, there is a reason myself and Giants fans included became very optimistic about his future. He threw 24 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 3,000 yards, had moments of, I'm not going to say brilliance, but he showed a lot of flashes. And in Jayden Daniels' case, I think that is going to be the same type of thing. I think he's going to have similar productions to what Jones did in his rookie year. The only difference being, I don't think he's going to fumble it a bajillion times, and maybe his quote-unquote weak point that we'll see is that he's going to take some hits that he probably shouldn't, as we saw all over his college tape.
Talk about looking back with rose-tinted glasses. I thought I had verbally thrashed you enough to get you to stop talking about rookie year Daniel Jones. If Jayden Daniels throws for around 3,000 passing yards, his rookie year will be considered a cataclysmic failure unless he's throwing 1,000 on the ground with it too. I don't know about that one, Tex. Please stop saying good things about Daniel Jones around me. It makes me viscerally upset.
It's his rookie season.
He wasn't that good his rookie season. He had like 25 turnovers.
And I just said Jayden Daniels is not going to have those turnovers, but as far as seeing reason for I don't think his rookie season is going to be groundbreaking. I think he's going to have some mistakes. I think those mistakes are going to come in the form of the conversation. He needs to slide or not hold on to the ball as long. I think that's going to be the case. I don't think he's going to throw that many interceptions. Hopefully, in his case. I hope he's not going to fumble 20 times or however many Daniel Jones did in his rookie season. But I think we're going to be left with a level of optimism for him and the Commanders' future.
You are greatly overstating Daniel Jones' production as a rookie. We're just going to mosey on out.
You understate it, so
we're going to mosey on out of the NFC East here. Too many wrong opinions. Strolling down to the NFC South. Starting these off with the big winners and the big losers of the NFL offseason, the Atlanta Falcons. And my take is not only are they going to win the South, it's not going to be close. It is going to be by around 3 games, maybe more. It will be convincing. It's going to be them and no one else for the final 2 months of the season. 12-win team, weaker division around them. They are going to comfortably cruise to the title.
I don't know if I necessarily heavily disagree with that or heavily agree with that, because I think the Buccaneers certainly will still be in that conversation. But as far as what I think is going to happen on the Falcons offense, it's going to be a major difference from last year. I think Bijan Robinson is going to have the year we all thought he was going to have as a rookie. The touches weren't exactly there last year, and when it comes to a per-touch basis, the only running backs that had more yards per touch last year were James Cook and Christian McCaffrey. So now you put him in a Falcons offense that has Christian Kirk taking snaps under Kirk Cousins taking, I don't know where that came. Kirk Cousins taking snaps under center. Michael Penix, he's going to be better than Desmond Ridder if it even comes to that. And Raheem Morris, I think he's going to hopefully be a better head coach than Arthur Smith. So with all those things taken into account, I think he's going to have a bigger workload. I think he's going to be more efficient with a better passing game alongside him. And I think he's going to have a year that leads to him being potentially the offensive player of the year.
I mean, he had what, 1,200 yards last season? It wasn't like he was bad.
He had 900 rushing yards, I think like 400 or 500 receiving yards.
Yeah, so 1,300 yards. That's a pretty good season for a rookie. But since you mentioned them, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think they are going to be staring down a first to worst situation. I think they are going to regress going into next season to a pretty substantial degree. And that might be due to the rest of their division getting better, but I don't think their O-line improved. I think their defense is gradually getting worse, and I'm just not that optimistic about the direction they're going, and particularly when you look at the Saints, Panthers, and Falcons all improving. I don't see them winning the division. I don't see them being close to winning the division. I think they're going to be in a dogfight not to finish last in the division in the first year of Baker Mayfield's extension.
I could see things taking a step back for them. I'm still more optimistic for them, and I like their roster and what they have more than the Saints and the Panthers, which we'll get to in a second. But as far as what I think is going to happen for the Buccaneers next season is I think sooner rather than later on the offensive side of the ball, Bucky Irving is going to take over the number 1 touches and become the number 1 running back in that offense. And of course, he did not have a good combine, not a good athletic profile. That is out there. But still, at Oregon, he averaged over 6 yards a carry, was able to fight for those tough yards, and with Rachaad White, he's averaged 3.6 and 3.8 yards a carry while on the Buccaneers in his 2 seasons. He has not been an efficient running back. So bringing in Bucky Irving, I think he's going to be very productive in that offense. I think he has the potential to take over that number one running back role, and I think he's going to add an element that people are kind of passing by just because of his poor combine performance.
That Bucky Irving 6 yards a carry thing is a classic case of Pac-12 inflation. If he was a featured running back in the Big Ten, that number would be closer to around 4.5 yards a carry. It's just the way they play defense out west. It does not mean more up there. But talking about the Panthers, the team who will be fighting for the Bucs for that last place spot, leaving aside results, the record, Bryce Young's stats are not going to look that dissimilar from what CJ Stroud's look like in 2024. I think the combination of the improved offensive line, having a bunch of new receivers, whereas number one last year is conceivably his number three, improving at tight end, improving at running back, getting guys who can catch the ball out of the backfield, I think he's going to put up around 4,000 yards, put up 20 to 25, maybe even 30 touchdowns, and have a great season. Will the Panthers win more games? It's hard to say. But for the first time in his career, Bryce Young is in an NFL level offense.
Well, I kind of think that's kind of a lukewarm take because
that he's going to have the same production as the best quarterback?
No, that's specifically, but you said, I don't know if the Panthers will win more games, and you kind of then just brought it back down to earth after making that level of a take, saying it's going to be the same as CJ Stroud, which is a drastic difference. And my take I think overall the sentiment towards the Panthers is that they have to be better than next year. There's no way they can be as bad as they just were with adding Deontay Johnson, adding Leggett in the draft, and the pieces they've added across that offensive line. I think most people think they're going to be better. I don't think that's going to be the case. I'll be shocked if they win 3. I know when it comes to betting odds, they're win totals aren't high, but I'll be shocked if they win more than 3 or 4 games just because of David Tepper and that organizational culture. When it comes to building a successful organization, you have to have good ownership and you have to structurally have a good culture. And David Tepper does not bring that. We've seen with the Giants over the better part of the last decade that John Mara has kind of ran things into a ground to a certain extent. With Dan Snyder, in the Washington, he's no longer the owner, but that organization and all the turmoil they've been through over the years, the Browns, it doesn't go well. And David Tepper, he is worse than all of them. When you are willing to throw drinks on fans, when you are willing to walk into a restaurant because you're upset with what the sign says and take the person's hat off and kind of dress him down, you're not running a good operation. And I can only imagine what's going on behind the scenes, and that level of incompetence from the ownership level is going to seep into the rest of the organization and continue to cause them to be dysfunctional.
Tristan, the owner of the greatest dynasty in football history, was getting rub and tugs at massage parlors. Ownership doesn't matter that much. David Tepper's not playing left tackle for Bryce Young. I don't think they're going to win 3 games next year. They are going to be comfortably in that 6 to 7 range. Finally, the Saints. Derek Carr's gone by, at worst, week 8 best case scenario within the first month of the year. The locker room's not there. The coaching staff does not like him. The team doesn't like him. The fans don't like him. They got rid of Jameson Winston, but that's not going to be enough. Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener is taking his job within 6 weeks. And maybe it's due to an injury, maybe it's due to performance, or maybe it's due to him just not passing the vibe check. I don't know what it'll be. I know a young quarterback will be starting for the Saints, though, by the midway point of this season.
I could see that happening, and I kind of felt that's what I was considering building my take around, is Derek Carr not being the starter at an early point in the season. But at the end of the day, I think people expect a lot from Derek Carr, and they expect him to be more than what he actually is. But when you take a look at last season, he was a very efficient quarterback. He threw for 24 touchdowns and not turned the ball over a ton, and they still won 9 football games. So I don't really have a bold take for the Saints. I think it's going to be a lot more of the same of what we've seen over the last 3 seasons. 9, 7, 8 wins. We're going to be in that range. I think we probably see Derek Carr keep some people's jobs this season because he's the safe pick at quarterback rather than rolling the dice on Jake Haener or Spencer Rattler.
Boo, tomato, 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 tomato. Boo, boo. No warm take. We do not appreciate that here at Thick Man Inc. Moving on up to the NFC North, though, starting things off with the reigning champion. The Detroit Lions are going to have the number 1 offense in the division and in football, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. Talk about, oh, Chiefs this, Bengals that, Ravens, whatever. This offense is so well balanced, so well blocked for, so well coached, that I have a hard time seeing their running backs not combining for 2,500 rushing yards and them getting at least 4,200, maybe even 5,000 yards through the air, which would lead them to having the best offense in football. Say what you want about the secondary, say what you want about the linebackers. This offense is going to get them 14 wins at bare minimum.
That's a little aggressive on the rushing projections. I have one 1,500-yard rusher and another 1,000-yard rusher, depending on what you think Jared Goff's rushing production is going to be. I mean, the Lions for sure are going to have a top 5 offense in the NFL. I will not be shocked if it's the best offense in the NFL. But when it comes to that offense specifically, I think this is the year that we see Jameson Williams finally break out and have his big season. Last year, there was the suspension due to the whole gambling policy, betting on other games in the Lions facility. Before that, it was his knee injury. Now he's healthy. He doesn't have that going on for him. Khalif Raymond, their second leading receiver last season, is no longer on the roster, opening the door for him to have a good season. Now, I don't think this season is going to be, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, just because of the number of touches there are to go around, but I think he's going to have 50, 45 catches, 830 yards, and 6 or 7 touchdowns, and we're finally going to see him step into that wide receiver 2 role on the Lions next year.
I think that's a supremely lukewarm take, man. Jameson Williams is going to have a breakout season. In the first season, he's fully healthy, and now is no one in front of him at the wide receiver 2 spot. Say something like, Penei Sewell's going to catch 5 touchdowns or something. We must be brave here at Thick Man Knee. We must be bold. We must predict Jordan Love to experience a sophomore slump in his 5th year in the NFL and be substantially worse, fall out of top 10 conversations as the season goes on. That's what I'm predicting. Because you see, the beauty of sitting on the bench for 4 years is that you get used to NFL offense. You get used to the games. You physically develop. You are probably not physically developing much more than you are 4 or 5 years into the league. But when you play your first season as a starter, it doesn't matter if you're 40 or 14, they now have a bunch of film on you. They know all the little intricacies, all your little weaknesses, and you can have faith in your offense to air it out. You can adjust your play style or whatnot, but Jordan Love will not be as productive as he was in the back half of 2023. It is going to be a substantial hit to his production. Maybe Josh Jacobs and that revamped offensive line can compensate for it, get the Packers back to the playoffs, but the sophomore slump is real going into year 5.
You take the most negative look on what was last season and throw that whole sophomore slump narrative into the conversation when it's not really a thing. Joe Burrow's second year was one of...
Joe Burrow's first year was, 5 games before he tore his ACL? Not a litany of
sophomore year had it.
They also added a bunch of talent around him. What'd they add for Jordan Love?
Sophomore slump, second year in the league.
Oh, I can repeat what you said, but in a stupid voice. That makes it a good argument.
The Packers, you said all this negative things about them, but you take a look at how their season progressed last year, how they caught fire towards the end of the season. Jordan Love threw for 34 touchdowns. They had 2 rookie tight ends who showed a lot of promise. They have a whole lot of athletic potential at that position. They have 4 receivers. I've said it numerous times in previous videos on this channel. They're all very young. They're all highly talented, and it is an offense that they can grow together with. They're going to be better when in year 1, they're figuring different things out. Receivers haven't been in the offense for 5+ years. This is an offense that is growing. It is developing young players. They just added Josh Jacobs, who might, in some type of ways, be more dynamic than Aaron Jones. So I think with all that going on, they are going to be Super Bowl contenders. They're going to be right in the conference championship, and they're going to be in the conversation to make it there, especially as the season moves on. You're going to see more people praising the Packers.
Say they're going to the Super Bowl, but I think the thing which holds them back, leaving aside all the woeful misinformation just spread about the offense, the defense is not Super Bowl level. We saw the thing which held the Lions back last year was their defense, and the Packers fans can hype up the names all they want. We all know how that defense looks year in and year out. Going into the Chicago Bears, though, so we don't just argue about Green Bay for 10 more minutes, by the month of October, certainly by the month of November, I don't think Caleb Williams will be in the Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation. It's not a slight to him. It's more so I think he has a pretty big adjustment to make going from college to the NFL. I think other rookies at the wide receiver position, most notably Marvin Harrison Jr., probably, I'll go ahead and say, I have more faith in Jayden Daniels to win Offensive Rookie of the Year than Caleb Williams.
I forgot Malik Nabers winning Offensive Rookie of the Year.
They're going to give it to a 600-yard receiver?
He's gonna
good for him, man. I guess they're using him out of the backfield or something. But I don't think he's in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race by the end of October.
I don't necessarily think he's going to be in the Offensive Rookie of the Year race. My commentary is more on if he doesn't reach this level, I think the season is somewhat of a failure. There's never been a rookie quarterback better set up to succeed than Caleb Williams. When you take a look, all the receivers, everyone has heard the commentary. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, they now added Rome Odunze. If he does not at least come close to the rookie passing yards record with a veteran in Keenan Allen who's seen every defense that can be possibly thrown at him, every coverage. He's been the #1 receiver in a high-level offense. And then you have DJ Moore, who proved to be a top 10 receiver last season, and you added elite prospect in Rome Odunze. He has a safety blanket available to him in Cole Kmet. They have a trio of solid running backs. You take all of that into account, if he does not come close to the rookie passing yards record, I think the season is somewhat of a rookie year failure. Not necessarily long-term, but rookie season.
The one thing holding him back is playing outdoors in Chicago. I guarantee you, even if he is on pace in the first half, which he won't be, but even if he is, you're going to see those late November night games start dipping. Those yards per games get dropped from around 300 to, say, 200 to 175. Chicago's not a fun place to play. Finally, the Vikings. I think we're going to see JJ McCarthy a lot sooner than most people expect. The general idea is that Sam Darnold is going to bear the burden of being the bridge quarterback. A lot of B's in that sentence. And is going to be the starter at least for half the season, maybe for all of it, so JJ can sit and develop. I think we see him within the first month. I don't have faith in Sam Darnold. I think this is a team built well enough where they're going to look to compete. Even if it means maybe hurting JJ's development a little bit, they're going to go with the best quarterback available to them, and that will be JJ McCarthy instead of Sam Darnold by week 5. Certainly by the end of their bye week in week 6.
I don't think JJ McCarthy is going to see the field this season. I think Kevin O'Connell is very secure in his job with the Vikings. I think they're looking to build something long-term, build a winning culture around JJ McCarthy and the talent they believe he is. And I think the Vikings, they're going to have a horrible season. We already talked about how hard their schedule is, and I think they're going to struggle to win 5-6 games even, just because they're playing in the NFC North and the way their schedule pans out, first 10 weeks, possibly the hardest schedule in the NFL. I think the Vikings are not going to have a good record. Are they the worst team? I don't think that, but the record's not going to be good.
Well, Tristan, they're projected to win 5-6 games.
That's a lukewarm take.
You just said the exact number of games they're projected to win. I think that's what they're going to win. I think they're going to be as good as everyone else is saying they're going to be. Say they're going to be 1-16.
Saying something in a stupid voice makes the argument more valid.
Tristan, I'm not saying it in a stupid voice. I'm saying it in my voice. Like this, what are we titling this? 16 hot and 16 lukewarm takes about each of your favorite NFL teams? Come on, man. We're going on a conference call for the AFC teams. We're coming back with some fire for the AFC. We are going to aggressively veto each other's takes. Finally, headed out west, Sam Howell's going to get that starting job at some point, and he is never going to let it go. I know they got Geno Smith under contract. Clearly, they don't have a ton of faith of him, hence why they brought in Howell. Whether it be due to injury, poor play, whatever. He is going to get that job at some point, and it is going to be his from then on out. Geno Smith will never get another chance to start in Seattle after Sam Howell seizes the means of production.
I don't see that happening. I don't think Sam Howell's going to be the starter at any point in 2024. What I do see happening is that JSN, he at least is going to lead the team in catches. Now, he's not as explosive as DK Metcalf, who's going to lead the team in yards and is going to lead the team in touchdowns. But when it comes to sheer number of catches, sheer number of targets, he's going to eclipse Tyler Lockett this season, and he's going to lead the Seahawks offense in that way.
I like that one. I like that take.
Because you hate JSN.
No, because it's a bold take. This young receiver who showed promise is going to have a breakout and surpass his two much more touted veterans. That's a good one. Keeping things in San Francisco, and this is more of an off-season take and a mid-season take. All the hoopla about Debo this and Brandon Ayuk that, no one's getting traded. They're all staying in town. They're all rolling through into 2024 with the same squad receivers, except, of course, with Ricky Pearsall now added to the mix. Going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but they're not caving in to their diva wide receivers' demands and shipping them out of town. Everyone's staying here. They're going to be happy about it, and they're going to enjoy a nice 12-13 wins.
What a brave take.
What a brave take. I hurt you, didn't I? This is hurt feelings seeping through.
The 49ers, they are not going to win the division. They're not going to win the NFC West. They're still going to be very good. They still have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They are still a great team. But when you lose Chase Young, you lose Arik Armstead, you lose some pieces on that defense. I do not think they replaced the same level of talent that they lost in the offseason on the defensive side of the ball. There's some of that. New rookie wide receiver, is someone going to get traded? And then you take a look at the Rams. I'm kind of going to do two teams here in a row. I think they've done a lot to be the best team in the NFC West and win that division. Matthew Stafford. Everyone thought the Rams were going to be a horrible team last year. And what happened? Matthew Stafford showed us all why he was traded, why the Rams were willing to give up 2 first-round picks in order to acquire him. He balled out last year. Sean McVay threw away any doubts people had about his quality of a coach, developed an excellent running game for that Rams offense. Puka Nacua, maybe that's a little bit lucky. They got him in the 5th round, but they were great last year. They were this close to making it past the Lions, who were in the conference championship, who were also this close to making it past the 49ers. And I think if they got an opportunity to play the 49ers, they would have beaten them and they would have been in the Super Bowl. And now we're moving into next season. Cooper Kupp, he's going to be healthier than he was last year. Puka Nacua, year 2, continuity within that offense. He's going to be great. They have Kyron Williams, who's going to at least start the year healthy. And then they have Blake Corum behind him, who's a high-level running back. And on the defensive side of the ball, I know the conversation. They lost Aaron Donald. But if you remember, last year during the season, the whole conversation surrounding their defense was that it was Aaron Donald and a bunch of guys, and he was propping that defense up. Now in the draft and in the offseason, they added Jared Verse. They added Brandon Fisk. They have more depth and more bodies they can throw at opposing offenses. So I think the Rams, they're going to be better than they were last year, and I think they're going to win the division.
Since you decided to just go out and yap on that one, I'm going to give you 2 for the price of 1 here. Between Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, and Matthew Stafford, 2 of those 3 guys are going to retire at the end of next season. Got to start off right there. Putting a bunch of faith into Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford when they are as old and as injury prone as they are to lead some elite offense is wishful thinking at best and delusion at worst. Second off, they're going to have a bottom 3 defense in football. And you can talk about Kobe Turner all you want, Jared Verse, Fisk. They added your Davius White, who you didn't mention, who's probably already hurt.
There's a reason I didn't mention him.
I don't care. You lose the best defensive player in football, the most dominant interior defensive lineman we have seen since Alan Page, and you talk about, oh, well, actually, their defense is going to be a little bit better. They have more depth. Doesn't matter. That depth cannot compare to the production of Aaron Donald and the gravity of Aaron Donald. That defense is going to stink. It is going to be a rough show. Maybe they get better as the year goes on. Wasn't a fan of the Verse or the Fisk pick personally, but maybe they develop into something by the back half. But they are going to start out bad, and I could very easily see them finishing bottom 3 in terms of total defense. Kobe Turner, he had 9 sacks as a rookie. I respect that in Defensive Rookie of the Year conversations. Shouldn't have been. At the end of the day, how many of those sacks came because a whole lot of attention is being paid to that monster on the interior? You're going to see sack totals drop despite adding all these rushers. You're going to see yards go up. It's going to be a bad go of things. I could see this team finishing worse in the division. I don't see them competing for the Super Bowl.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong.
I feel like I yapped pretty extensively about why you're wrong, so I'm not going to.
They're going to beat up on the poor little 49ers. The poor, innocent 49ers who have no reason to dislike whatsoever. This is going to be the final year of Kyler Murray. I think everything has been given to him. He's got his number 1 receiver. His offensive line finally looks decent. His coaching staff, I got faith in it. But it's just not going to work out for whatever reason. And they're going to be left wondering, how do we get rid of this guy on this contract? And I think they'll find a way to do it. There's going to be a quarterback-hungry team out there, whether they be at the trade deadline, the offseason, whatever, which is just chomping at the bit to get a good quarterback and will give up meaningful draft capital, even if it's not on the best deal, and try and capitalize on the potential of Kyler Murray. I just don't think it works out. I think the Cardinals decide, hey, We gave them everything. We're going to go in a different direction.
I disagree. I think the Cardinals still have a lot of holes, and we saw some of this last season. But 2024 for the Cardinals is going to be their year of shocking teams and beating teams people don't expect them to. I mean, last season, it started already. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the Steelers. They kept it close with the Ravens. They had a lot of competitive games, and now that they have Kyler Murray healthy to start the season, you hope he can remain healthy for the entirety of the season, and you add Marvin Harrison Jr. to that offense for him to throw the ball to. You add Trey Benson to that backfield to pair with James Conner. I think their offense is going to be much better. We saw them beat teams they probably shouldn't have last season. Jonathan Gannon, from my perspective, brought that defense to a level where he had that defense playing better than the talent they had on that defense, and I think they're going to beat some teams that we don't expect them to, and they're going to finish with a win total people probably don't expect them to either.
What's that win total, Tristan?
7, 8 wins maybe?
Anyway, those were the flaming hot NFC takes. Obviously a lot of disagreement there. Some disagreement about the heat of the takes. We'll be coming back later this week or next week with some flaming hot AFC takes to burn your mouths and scorch your hair. Be sure, if you're still here, like, share, subscribe. Any support is tremendously appreciated, and we'll see you in the next video.